It's time for another episode of Timeout, the British basketball podcast by Basketball England. Great Britain's Carl Wheatle talks life in lockdown and his career in Italy with me, Mark Jones, and we find out all of his favourites with some quick-fire questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe and enjoy the pod. Carl Wheatle, thanks for joining me on this week's edition of Time Out, the Basketball England podcast. How have you been doing in these recent weeks?
Not too bad. I mean, when the whole lockdown situation originally started, I was still in Italy. So, and their lockdown started before the UK. So I was sort of a bit of ahead of, being able to prepare and sort of knowing what to expect. And so since I've been home, I've just been, trying to stay positive, trying to work out as much as I can at home, reading, catching up on TV, and also spending time with my family, which is something I wouldn't normally be able to do much during the season. So, just trying to find ways to keep me occupied and find advantages even in the situation.
Yeah, so where is it you're actually based at the moment? Because obviously you play your trade in Italy and now the basketball season's finished. So have you come back home to the UK?
Yeah, I'm in Kent during the summers now. So yeah, my family moved to Kent a few years ago. We used to live in South London, but yeah, we've been out in Kent for the last 3 years. So yeah, now I'm back in Kent with the family.
So who have you got in the house with you at the moment then, keeping you busy?
I got my mum and my sister. So they definitely keep me busy, keep me entertained.
Watching on the news with Italy, it's been quite tough, hasn't it? What's it been like? Well, you've obviously come back from there, but has it been a bit of a strange one seeing how that's all unfolded on the news there as well?
Yeah, it's definitely been a strange and a weird time for everyone, really. Obviously, I've still got a lot of friends and people I know in Italy who are, still struggling with the whole situation. Also because their lockdown conditions are even stricter than in the UK, so they literally pretty much can't go out unless it's to the shops. So it's affecting a lot of people, and it was tough for me at the start as well because I did lockdown for 2 weeks in Italy, and not really being able to leave my apartment was very tough. So I definitely understand the situation that they're going through, and I've seen in recent days that the mortality rates are starting to drop. But it's still really high numbers. So, it's slowly moving in the right direction, but it's definitely a trying time for everyone because of, Italy's been in lockdown for nearly 2 months now. So it's definitely a tough time.
Yeah, in Italy, is it Pistoia where you're based?
Yeah, Pistoia, between Florence and Pisa.
Yeah, and when you're living there, have you got mates living with you there or anyone?
No, I'm by myself. So that's why it was definitely tougher because, obviously I was in my apartment by myself, couldn't really leave, and the shops, and to go to the shops, I have a shop like literally right next to my apartment, so it meant that even when I left my house, I basically didn't really go anywhere, so it was definitely a tough time those first couple of weeks. I'm
sure your family are pleased to have you back, and you've been keeping busy as well on social media, haven't you, with some Instagram takeovers, workouts, and some pretty interesting TikToks as well. What's been the inspiration behind some of those?
Just having a time, I can be a bit more active on social media. So yeah, doing takeovers and interviews and things like this, just trying to, help people share their stories, help sort of me interact more with people. The TikToks, it's really just things I see on a day-to-day. So with the Power Rangers one, I'd seen it was on Twitter or something, like someone's ranking Power Rangers. And then I happened to have multicolored tracksuits, so I thought, why not? With the Olympics one, again, I saw on social media something about the Olympics being cancelled. And so I just thought, what kind of games could I play at home to simulate some kind of Olympics? And then the most recent one was just, I was listening to the song. And then, I just thought, why not? So it's all very much stuff that's in and around me or that I see. And then I just think, how could I make that a TikTok? And yeah.
Yeah, the Destiny's Child one was a personal favourite.
Yeah, I got a pretty good reaction off that one. They were very. A lot of people fell in love with the wig sort of thing. So.
Yeah. Any more in the pipeline?
I might have a couple in the next few days and weeks. I have to think. Try and find some new inspiration because I tried to make everyone kind of different from the last. I don't want it because people TikTok often, but a lot of people will just do dances or they'll just do some kind of thing. I try to make all of mine a bit different. So I have to get creative. So think of something. I might try to do a TV show or a film or something.
Yeah, I'm sure your followers are looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, I get people messaging me now, like just asking when's the next TikTok. Are you wearing the wig again? I was just, so I got to figure something.
Going into your basketball career itself, then you grew up in London, is that right, or was it Kent you grew up? If that's where you're based right now.
Grew up in South London. I grew up in Brixton. Was in Brixton for the first 19 years of my life, more or less. So yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, for the listeners, get an idea of where it all started for you in basketball. So yeah, maybe if in your own words you say how you got started in the game.
Well, for me, I took it seriously from the age of about 14. But before that, when I was younger, my mum would do like classes in the Brixton Rec, like yoga and step classes, things like that. And because I was too young to stay at home by myself, I would do training with the Tock. So that was my first real introduction to basketball with Jimmy Rogers and all the guys down at Brixton Tock. That was really my first sort of introduction. But I never really took it seriously at that time. It was just literally to do something because I couldn't be home by myself. But then I really played football up until about 14. And it was in secondary school. We played a tournament. It was like an inter-schools tournament. And I played a tournament at Stockwell School, which is now Platinos College. They changed the name. And that was where Greenhouse Pioneers trained. And so one of their coaches was there and saw me play in the game. And then after the game, he came up to me and asked, if I'd maybe be interested in joining his basketball team. And so at first I was a bit apprehensive about it. I was still playing football and I still really enjoyed that. But I thought, I'll give it a go because I did enjoy playing basketball, but just not to the level. And so I went to Greenhouse Pioneers for a few weeks of training. The summer holidays came, didn't really do anything. But then I decided I'm going to go back when school started again. And from there, really, I joined their team at under 14s. And from there, really, it just sort of took off. I decided to stop playing football at the time. And then I would only play, like recreationally. And then, from there, my first year, I made the England under 14s team. At the end of the year when they had camps and we played a little tournament. And from there, really, it's just, I played for Pioneers until under 16s and then I left for Italy.
Yeah, I was going to ask you on that. So if you only started taking it seriously for a year then, if you were 14, and then at 15 you made the move to Italy with Angelico Biella, is that right?
Yep, that's right. I was 14 when I first started playing, and then when I was 15, it was after the summer because I got picked for the England under 16s a year young. So when I was 15, I was playing with the 97 age group, a year young, and Angelico Biella, they came to see me play at the Euros, and then after that they got in touch with my agent and my coaches, and they offered me a trial week. So I went out to Italy for a week. I practiced with the team, saw how the organization was running and everything, and then about a month later they offered me a junior level deal for 4 years. I signed it in October, and then I moved out to Italy in November.
Wow. So in the space of a year, you went from sort of playing it leisurely to then taking it seriously and then making the move to Italy. Yeah,
it was a really crazy sort of, rise because I never expected when I first started playing to, for that to happen. But then, the more I played, the more I enjoyed, the more success that came with it. Once I got into the England pathway, that kind of really sort of showed me that I could really, make something of this. And then after the Euros, when Angelico Biella and a few other teams showed interest, it really sort of opened my eyes about, what I could become.
Something that's a bit interesting at the moment is, and I know you've touched on this with some of the interviews you've been doing with the junior players on social media, there's a discussion about the route that British players take, and from doing it this way, you've sort of gone against the grain in a way of where a lot of players head over to the States. Were you ever tempted to go down that route, or was it this came along so fast and you just went over to Italy?
I feel like because I'd only been playing for a short amount of time when I moved to Italy, I had never really considered the option to go to the States. And because at that time I didn't really know anyone who had gone to the States and been successful, or not that had been successful, but I didn't really know that many people within basketball, so I didn't really know about people's stories of going to the States. And so for me, when an opportunity to go to Europe, came about, took it because I had never really given much thought about going to the States or playing anywhere else. I just saw it as this is a real great opportunity now, so I think I should take it. it was only later on after a few years that I'd been in Italy, where, people my age and people I had played with in England or played against were starting to, commit to colleges and go to college, where I considered it for a while. I considered it for during one of my years, because I would get schools contact me asking if I wanted to make the change. But I felt like I'd done so well in my short time in Italy already that I definitely made the right decision to stay there. And then after a while, I made a decision to stay, stop speaking to schools. I mean, I never really spoke to schools, but I had the interest. I would always entertain them. But after a while, I just sort of shut them down and said, I'm good where I am. It's working for me in Italy. And so it was different because with Europe, a lot of people don't realize most European teams, they want to get you from young. So they'll contact you when you're 14, 15, 13. They don't really wait until you're older, because in Europe, if you play a certain amount of years as a junior, you then qualify to play in that country as a citizen. So now when I play in Italy, I play as an Italian. Even though I'm not Italian, I still play for the GB men's team and England. I now count to teams as an Italian. So Europe teams try to do that to make you become a more valuable asset to teams in your future. And so it's a lot different to the States, because the States wait usually until you're 18, 19 and ready to go to college, and then you become valuable to them because then you add to their college program. But then sort of after you finish college, it's like, okay, yeah, go wherever you want. In Europe, they try to sort of naturalize you in their country so that, you can either be successful for their team, or when you move on, you can stay in that country and play like you're from that country.
Yeah, so when there's a lot of people now deciding where to take their next steps in their career, would you recommend this I'm sure you would recommend this as a route for them that they could feasibly take as well?
Yeah, definitely. But it's a tough one because, everyone is different. And so everyone may fit a certain situation differently. Obviously, I don't know if the States would have worked for me because I left when I did, and, I've never got to experience it. But the same way it could have worked, it's the same way it worked for me in Italy, it could have worked for me in the States. But it depends on fit, because a lot of the time, if the fit isn't right and if you don't feel like you're going to succeed in that environment, then you won't. So for my advice to people would be, really weigh up the options of what's going to be the best situation for you. You don't always have to follow your friends or people you've seen before you, because what they've done is not necessarily what you'll be able to do. Schools are different, situations are different. There's so many different factors into it. So you really got to think about what's best for you and what's best for your development at the time, what offers you more to get the best, either out of education or from a skill standpoint and improving as a basketball player, what is the best way for you to be able to move forward in your career. For a lot of people, they believe it's the States, and then they may get to the States and realize, they may have made a wrong decision or hasn't really worked out the way they wanted to, also because they closed off the European option. I would always say to keep your options as open as possible and, weigh up the pros and cons of each situation before you decide, okay, yeah, I definitely want to go to Europe or I definitely want to go to the States. I say definitely keep your options open and find what's the best fit for you.
For you personally, as we've said already, it come around so fast. Did it take you a long time to settle, or was it something where you just hit the ground running?
I know, it definitely was. It took me a while to settle. It did take me pretty much a year to really feel comfortable. Also because obviously not the downsides, but one of the tougher things with going to Europe is, the language barrier. So obviously when I moved to Italy, I didn't speak any Italian. More than ciao, I basically didn't know anything. And so it was tough because for the first months and, as soon as I got there, I couldn't really communicate with people. My teammates were young and they were learning English, so they didn't feel comfortable trying to speak English to me. Obviously, I didn't speak any Italian, so if I didn't speak to some of my coaches, I pretty much didn't speak to anyone. I was pretty much just, on my PSP or my Xbox, just literally just separated from people because I couldn't really communicate and I didn't really want to talk. And they weren't comfortable enough with their English to try to speak to me. So that was definitely tough at the start, but the more I felt comfortable learning Italian and trying to speak it and trying to interact with them, the more comfortable they got with trying to speak to me in English, and it made things a lot easier. Obviously now I speak it fluently, so I don't have that issue anymore. But definitely at the start it was tough. Also, being away from home so young, one of the good things about the States, I guess, is that leaving later on, you're kind of more prepared because you're older, you're more mature, and you're sort of more ready to leave home and, be a bit more independent. I was sort of forced into that at 15, which is quite young. And so I was definitely forced to mature quicker and sort of get comfortable really with being away from home. It was definitely a tough experience because I'd never really been away from home like that from before. Before that time, I'd only been like 2 weeks at European Championships or like a week at a camp. So it was definitely a big culture shock as well because, obviously Italy is very different to the UK, just the way people do things. And so it was tough at the beginning, but, the more I got comfortable, my teammates really helped me when, they felt more comfortable with me. My coaches were really welcoming and really supportive and tried to do everything they could to make me feel comfortable. So after a while, I sort of got into it, and now, Italy's like a second home, really.
It has, and you've gone from strength to strength, haven't you, rising through the ranks there? And by 18, you were playing in the second division, weren't you? Do you feel the choices you made at a young age and the commitment you made so young helped you get there at such a young age?
I definitely feel like, I put the work in to get to where I was. And I was very thankful for the opportunity I was given because, not everyone gets the opportunity to go pro at such a young age. I mean, one thing I do say about the European route is that, it allows you to do things not quicker, but, most guys go to college when they're 18. I was playing my first, professional games when I was at that age. And so it's a different route, and it's not the one a lot of people take, but I was definitely thankful for the one I chose because I know if I had left when I was 18 and gone to college, then suddenly if the college thing doesn't really work out, it's a lot harder to come back to Europe after, maybe 1 or 2 years, especially if I didn't play or didn't perform as well as I could. But to know the club had the faith in me to put me into the professional setting at 18 at such a young age, it was definitely a humbling experience and definitely one I know I worked for and I was appreciative of.
Just looking at your stats before, in your last season you averaged just under 32 minutes a game out of the 37 games, and you're obviously a key figure then in that side after working your way up. But then did you feel it was time for a change?
Yeah, I definitely felt after my last season in Biella that it was time to move on and challenge myself a bit more. My last year there I was captain and I felt like I had pretty much done what I wanted to do and all I could do with the team. I felt like, not that I was stalling, but because obviously my role had increased every year, but I felt like I didn't want to be stuck in the same place for too long. That was the place where I grew up and I was always, thankful to Biella and for everything, the coaches and the people they have done for me. And it will always be, my favorite team in Italy will always be, have a special place in my heart. But I definitely feel like for my career, it was time for me to move on and try to take the next step and move up a level. So that definitely, it was a hard decision because I did want to stay. There was a big part of me that wanted to stay. I had a lot of friends there, or I still have a lot of friends there and a lot of people that, supported me and have seen me grow up really. So it was a hard decision, but I feel like it was the right one for my career to take the next step.
So why Pistoia, and was that move difficult again, like you say, leaving some friends and a lot of history in your junior years behind?
I mean, yeah, it was definitely a tough decision to leave because, like I said, in Biella I had done so much and I had been there for 6 years at the time, so it was definitely a big part of my life and a big part of my basketball career up until that point. My choice to go to Pistoia wasn't like incredibly hard, mainly because my coach from Biella actually moved to Pistoia, as well as the general manager. So it sort of gave me continuity going into Pistoia because they wanted to take me with them. And so that made the decision to go there a lot smoother because I knew, obviously it's a different area and a different city, different kind of people, but I knew within the club, the system of play was going to be the same or very similar, how the organization was run from the top because obviously I knew the GM. So that gave me a lot of comfort in making my decision. And also I thought it was the best pathway, to sort of lead myself into the top league, with a coach I already know and I've played for 4 years already. That he's coached me for 4 years, so he was already comfortable with what I could do. I knew his coaching style. He knew what I could do, so it definitely made the transition a lot smoother.
And how did you find that step up into the first division, albeit ending prematurely? How did you find your first season went?
It was ups and downs. It was obviously a level up, and it was tough, and I had to definitely adjust to a better style of play, a higher level of play. But yeah, definitely ups and downs. I feel like, I found my role in the team. I was playing consistently, and I was generally, I'd say, content with how I played. I knew I could do better, but I definitely feel like I was getting more comfortable as the season progressed. So, ups and downs, but I feel like overall it was a decent season before obviously it got cut short. But the annoying thing is that it got cut short just for us when we felt like we was really, beginning to hit our stride as a team. We were winning we won a few games in a row because we struggled quite a bit during the season. And so, we felt like the lockdown and the whole situation happened pretty much like at the worst possible time. I remember our last game of the season, we actually played a game with no fans. We played a game with closed doors. And it was probably the worst game I've ever played in my life. Not just from a personal performance standpoint, but just, it's so hard to, knowing that usually you have thousands of people come to the games, to literally have, 5 people, and those are like security staffs and like a couple of the other team's main sponsors. Like, it was a surreal atmosphere. It was one I never want to experience again. Like, it was crazy, We lost the game because it really didn't feel like a game. It felt like just a weird practice sort of thing. It was definitely a surreal experience, but just the whole season as a whole, it was ups and downs, but I definitely enjoyed the step up, and I definitely want to improve and get better heading into next season.
Yeah, what are the average attendances that you get at your games then?
Well, our team, I think there were about 3,000 to 4,000. I know the stadium holds about 5, but yeah, we had there's about 3,000 to 4,000 usually. So yeah, it's definitely a crazy experience when you're used to 3, 4 in some arenas 7 or 8, and then you go to 10 people. Like it was crazy.
Yeah, and then you see some of the sporting figures at top of different sports trying to decide at the moment the best way to return to sport. How would you feel then if they decide to bring basketball back, but say it has to be some more games behind closed doors?
Yeah, like it's definitely a tough one because we all want to be able to get back to playing and getting back to do what we love, but at the same time, especially in the season, you play for the fans. You play for the city, and for them to not be able to see or cheer for you, it definitely takes a lot out of the game. Maybe they could do a way to have a limit on fans, but even that, it's a real tough one to decide. And I'm glad I don't have to make those decisions. But it will definitely be weird. You have to go back to playing and there's no fans around, because it would definitely take a lot of atmosphere out of the game, and not necessarily take away from the level, but just take away from the general feeling of the game. But at the end of the day, we have to do what's best for the player safety and everyone's general safety. And so if that's what has to happen, then hopefully it doesn't last for the whole season, and hopefully we all have our fans with us. But if that's what has to happen, then unfortunately that's what has to happen.
Looking back at what you said on the sort of step up in level, you would have come up against some pretty tough opponents in that league. Just looking at a couple of names on the leaderboards and things, there's a certain Milos Teodosic that you might have come up against, but did you come up against him, and who were the toughest opponents that you sort of came up against in that season?
We played them at their place, in Bologna, and he's just a special player. There's not enough words to describe, that guy. He's the way he thinks, the way he sees the court. It was special, and they beat us quite well. So but we were in the third quarter. We were making a bit of a run for it. We were trying to get back into the game. He sort of just calmed everything down, hit a couple shots, threw a couple of nice passes. It sort of just kicked us out of the game again. So no, he was definitely a tough opponent. I had to guard him a few times, and it was definitely a tough cover. Because when you think of Milos's game, he's not the quickest guy, he's not crazy athletic, but just so smart and so manipulative, the way he controls the game, that it was definitely a tough cover, and definitely one of the toughest people we've had to guard this year.
Is there any other notable opponents that you've thought, oh wow, these guys are tough?
We played Austin Day, who had played in the NBA, pretty much 7 foot, but guard-like skills. He was very tough. Sergio Rodriguez in Milan. Luis Scola in Milan as well. A lot of guys really that, NBA, EuroLeague guys, a lot of great scorers, but, definitely every game pretty much you can find a top level player that, you have to come up against. So it was definitely a tough experience.
I guess coming up against these kind of players only furthers makes you think that you did make the right decision to make the step up. It must be a great experience for you to come up against these guys. Yeah,
definitely, because, when I was growing up, and when I started getting more into basketball and started watching it, these are guys I would see, on TV, like I'd be watching them in EuroLeague or in the NBA, now I get the chance to play against them and compete against them. So, it's a humbling experience for me. But also it shows I made the right choice to make the step up. And, it shows that I'm willing to challenge myself against these guys, and it shows I'm doing something right.
You've been a key figure in the GB setup throughout the age group squads, and for the England ones as well. You joined at, was it 14? You were playing with the under 16s.
Yeah, under 14s. Yeah.
Yeah, and you made
15. I was playing. Yeah.
Yeah, so 15 you're playing. Well, you made your debut with the international squads, and all the way through to making the senior squad at 19. Is that right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to get your thoughts on how your international journey has been for you.
I've enjoyed pretty much every moment of it. From those first camps at under 15s and under 16s. Obviously I was a lot shy and a bit more nervous about it then, because at the time I didn't really know anyone, because, most of the people on those teams, I've been playing together, with the national teams for since under 13s, the regional tournaments and stuff like this. I never did a regional tournament, or anything like that. And so literally I just came into it and I was still, obviously I wasn't the best player on the team, so I sort of had to, grit and grind to make those teams. And then as the years progressed, I've always enjoyed being part of the England and GB program and, being able to represent. I've always enjoyed, the brotherhoods and the bonds that you form with the players over the summer, because a lot of the time, especially with the 16s and 18s, because the European Championships are quite late in the summer, you spend a lot of time together. You form new friendships with guys. It's a bond you guys share, and then competing together for your country. There's no better feeling really. A lot of people, obviously want the experience and want the chance to represent their country, and to be able to do that for 8 years now continuously, it's definitely a blessing. And then making the jump to the men's team was humbling, especially because the summer I did get called up when I was 19. I didn't expect it at all. I was at 20s camp when I got the call up, and my teammates, my 20s teammates were really, they're really happy for me. But I was shocked, because I didn't expect it. I didn't, have an idea that they were watching, or they were considering me for the camp. So it was definitely a really humbling experience to make that first camp. And since then I've enjoyed every moment of representing. Did
it help that you were able to come back to these squads where it was a bit more familiar surroundings in terms of the language barrier not being there as well, from being over in Italy at a young age?
Oh yeah, definitely did help, especially with 16s and 18s. You'd have camps during the year, so it was always good to come back when I could, and see ex-teammates or guys I compete against, and be able to sort of have these environments where I had more in common with the people. I was used to the kind of guys, like I said, you form those friendships throughout the year and throughout the summer. So it was definitely fun times whenever I came back for camps or whatever it was with the national team.
In the 16-17 season, you guys gained promotion from Division B, didn't you? What do you remember from that experience 4 years ago, and is it one of your career highlights?
Yes, definitely. To be, part of a successful team with the 20s, to gain promotion, it's an incredible feeling. That team was, we had a lot of great guys and a lot of great talent. When we came together when we needed to, because in that tournament, a lot of people didn't really expect us to do well, but we knew what we could do. And our goal from the start of camp was promotion. From day one, Andreas, who was the coach at the time, Coach Andreas Kopoulos in Bristol, he said from the start, our goal is promotion. Our goal is to bring this team and to bring the country where it deserves to be in Division A. And so, with that mindset that we had from the first day, it didn't make it easier, but it focused us, and it let us know that, what we're striving for, what we're trying to do in that summer. And then, to achieve that with those guys was a special feeling. It was definitely one of my proudest moments with the national team for sure.
The most recent GB games as well, I saw you lose to Montenegro, but you followed up with a great win over Germany in Newcastle. How much confidence does ending the certain section of the campaign with a result like that bring?
It brings a lot of confidence because, it shows us what we can do. And, it shows us that we can compete with, top countries in Europe. Obviously, Germany is a powerhouse, and I have been for a number of years. And so it just shows us that we can compete and that we know what we can do when we're on our game. And so it definitely gives us a lot of confidence going into, the next windows. Obviously, it remains to be seen what happens because of the whole virus situation, but definitely it gives us confidence of what this team can do, and just trying to find that continuity going into the next games and the next window, and trying to, continue to replicate that, because, the next window is crucial for us, having 2 home games. And so it's going to be really important how we approach that, and just to be ready for it, because, it's going to be 2 very tough games, and, winning those puts us in a great position to be able to qualify.
Looking ahead to the future, which can be a bit difficult in these times, as we said before, what are your aims going into next season and with GB?
So with GB, definitely to qualify for Eurobasket. Obviously, like I said, it remains to be seen when that will happen because of postponements of various tournaments. But we have to focus on our goal, which is to qualify. Like I said, the next window is pivotal for us because it's 2 home games against Montenegro and France, and winning both of those puts us in a really good position heading into the last window in February, which will be a tough one because there's 2 away games in Germany and in France, and obviously Germany and France. When you think of top European teams, those are 2 names that are pretty much always on the list. And so for us, it's about being ready, coming together. We've shown what we can do with the win over Germany, and it's about trying to repeat that to the best of our abilities. Trying to represent the white way, and definitely our end goal is qualification for Eurobasket, or 2021 or 2022, whenever it happens. But definitely our end goal is qualification.
And are you still going to be staying with Pistoia for next season? How long you signed up for there?
Yeah, I'm signed in for another year in Pistoia. So as long as nothing crazy happens with the league, I'll be back in Pistoia whenever we're able to travel and resume normal activities. But yeah, I'll definitely be I should be back in Pistoia next season.
Yeah, and I guess it's just from that perspective, it's just a case of building on a pretty good and solid first season there in the first division.
Yeah, it's just trying to improve and trying to continuously get better. I've got my feet wet. Having the experience of what the league is like. So moving on from that, knowing what I'm going to be facing, it helps me prepare. And my mindset has to be to keep improving and keep showing that I belong and that I can be a very successful player in that league for years to come.
Do you ever look too far into the future, or do you always sort of keep a mind on the present? Because I was just going to ask, do you see yourself leaving Italy anytime soon, or have you got any other hopes of getting into any other leagues or testing yourself in any other countries?
Well, I kind of try to keep one eye on the future, one eye on the present, because to look too far in the future, you can never really anticipate what's going to happen, but also to be just focused on the present, you don't really set yourself up for what could happen. So for the foreseeable future, I probably see myself in Italy, purely because, I'm comfortable with it, and I feel like the league is at a level where I'm still challenging myself. I don't feel like I've outgrown the league, and to a point where, I want to play somewhere else. Also, the fact that I play as an Italian opens up a lot of opportunity for me in Italy. But like I said, it depends because, situations can change, options can come and go. So, it depends on, how I'm progressing. And I would never rule out moving to another country to play. But for me, it's about the situation. And, if I feel like I'll be successful in that situation and what the opportunity is. So, I haven't closed the door on leaving Italy, but definitely for the foreseeable future, I definitely see myself here.
Well, as we said before the chat, I just want to ask you some quick fire questions to end on, if that's all right. Because I could talk to you about your career and life in Italy for ages, but I'm conscious of taking up too much of your time. So regarding lockdown, what's your go-to on Netflix at the moment?
My go-to on Netflix? Ooh, that's tough. Well, I just finished Money Heist. And so my go-to on Netflix right now, I'm actually watching. I'm not gonna go on Netflix. I'm gonna go on. I've got Amazon Prime. I'm watching The Office, the US version. That's what I've been watching recently. Yeah, that's probably my go-to right now. But I just finished Money Heist, so I'm looking for a new Netflix series.
Before you're sitting down and watching these, what are you reaching around for in the cupboards? What is your go-to snack at the moment that you can't put down during lockdown?
My go-to snack. Well, I love sweets, so I know I shouldn't, but it's probably a pack of Haribos. Or it'll be sweets or fruit. So, it's good or bad. Probably some grapes and blueberries or Haribos. So, it's definitely either end of the scale.
Yeah. And do you make up for that with what you make at your meal times? And what's your favourite meal out in Italy at the moment?
In Italy, my favourite meal, Tough one. Probably pasta carbonara, which is got like egg and bacon and stuff like that in it. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
I don't make it, but when I go out, that's what I have.
Yeah, the food's good out there, isn't it?
Yeah, the food is one of the best parts. That's another reason why I haven't left Italy yet, because the food is so good.
Yeah, too good to leave. So now you're back in Kent. Is there anything you're making sure you get to eat that you've been missing from England while you've been in Italy?
Not particularly, because I can get most things out in Italy. Probably apple pies, like the packs of 6 you can get.
Yeah.
I've got a bit of a sweet tooth, so yeah, probably those apple pies that I can munch on.
And finally, in terms of a lockdown question, what's top of your playlist at the moment?
Top of my playlist. Oh, that's a good one.
Not Destiny's Child, no.
Nah, Destiny's Child is in there sometimes, but top of my playlist would probably be J Hus or any kind of R&B mix. So any kind of old school R&B is on my playlist right now, because of the weather's been quite nice as well. I just want sort of relaxed, old school kind of vibe. So yeah, probably R&B playlist is up there at the top, and then J Hus. Who else is there? Bit of Jay-Z for a different kind of vibe, but yeah. So.
And then with some quick fire basketball questions to finish. I was wondering, who makes your dream team? Who's in your starting 5?
All time guys. I'm gonna go LeBron as my point guard. Okay. I'm gonna go small ball. I'm gonna go small ball team. So I'm gonna go LeBron as my point guard. Oh, it's hard. Oh no, I have to think about this. I'm gonna go Kobe as my 2. KD, Kevin Durant at the 3. At the 4, I'm gonna go with KG, Kevin Garnett. Oh no, I don't know. No, I'm gonna go Tim Duncan at the 4. I'm gonna go at the 5. I'm gonna go Shaq, because just dominant.
Nice, that's a pretty solid team, to be fair, isn't it? I'm sorry I asked you. It stressed you out a bit, didn't it?
Yeah, that was a stressful one. That's a stressful, because I had to leave MJ out because Kobe is my all-time favorite player, and then I had to have LeBron as my point guard because I have to have LeBron in there, but I also want KD. So yeah, it's a tough one.
We had, just because you've mentioned him there, I never asked you who your toughest opponent was that you faced. Like, I asked some of the toughest you've had in the league this season, but who's the toughest you faced? I asked because Orlan Jackman took over our Instagram a few days before you did, and he got asked who it was his, and he said Durant was who he'd come up against that was the toughest. Yeah. Obviously, it's hard to beat him, but...
Well, I scrimmaged against Jimmy Butler, and he was pretty tough, so I might have to go with him, or probably maybe Nick Kalafis with Greece, point guard, EuroLeague player. He was very tough to guard. Yeah, probably one of those two. So probably Jimmy Butler. But yeah, close second, Nick Kalafis with Greece.
So hopefully this is a bit less stress for you. It might not be. Who's your best mate in basketball?
My best mate? Oh, that's hard. That's tough.
Shouldn't be ending on these, really.
That is tough. I've got too many. There's not. I don't think I have one specific player.
Okay, you can go and name a few. Throw a few away.
Probably a couple of my teammates that I had in Biella. His name's Sandro Mamukelashvili. He plays at Seton Hall University. That's one of my really good friends in basketball. It's hard, man. I don't know. There's a lot of guys. Just all my England and GB teammates.
Yeah, good answer. Which one of them? We'll go away from that then, because I don't want to stress you out again too much. But who's got the worst taste in music out of all them then? Who's in the GB squad? Who's got the worst taste in music?
Ooh, who's got the worst taste? I don't think anyone's got particularly bad taste, to be honest. I think everyone who plays, who's got the speakers on, it puts pretty good music on. I remember when I first got into the men's, Eric Boateng was always the music. He was always the DJ, and sometimes he had a few questionable decisions, but in general he was pretty good. So yeah, Ebo was definitely the DJ back in the day. But yeah, no, I think everyone's got pretty good taste. I don't have anyone I'd say has got really bad taste.
My last one was, what about dress sense wise? Has anyone got any questionable clothing that they turn up to for these squads?
Again, I've never seen anything, outrageous. I've never seen anything too crazy. Where I thought, this just doesn't work. So, everyone, that I've been on teams with has pretty good dress sense. They keep it pretty simple. So yeah, again, I haven't seen anything ridiculous everyone's decent.
Finally, Carl, what's your next TikTok going to be?
My next TikTok, probably some kind of TV show remake, something to do with TV or film. Probably something I'll watch and then I'll try to recreate the best I can.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to that, and it's been great to chat to you over the last 45 minutes. I appreciate you taking up your time. And it's been a great chat, with a lot of insight and tips for young players, and a great insight into your career with GB and in Italy. So thanks very much, Carl.
No problem, anytime.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Timeout. You can now find all of our episodes on iTunes and Spotify, so please like, subscribe, and let us know who you'd like to hear from in a future episode.